Hey everybody, it is tea time with the diva. Grab your tea, grab your coffee, because we're going to get into it. This tea time is dedicated to the reality show. I don't know if any of you remember The Biggest Loser. I used to watch that show all the time. I was obsessed with it. And I was so excited when I would see the contestants get on the scale. And, week after week, they would lose so much weight. But then, a scandal came out about that show. A few years into it, a lot of contestants were coming back saying that pretty much they were starving to lose that weight, being on 800-calorie diets. They was taking pills to help make them poop. They was taking caffeine pills, stackers, all kinds of stuff. So, later on, contestants came out and said that. And then in addition to contestants coming out and saying that, a lot of contestants, unfortunately, once they left the show, they gained a lot of the weight back, if not all of it. A lot of them gained more than they were weighing prior to going on the show. So many of them struggled after the show. Recently, Netflix did a documentary. I watched it. I think it's about 3 episodes. It's not that long. If you watch The Biggest Loser back in the day, it'll probably be interesting to you. So it's called Fit for
I have lost so.
it's called Fit for TV, the reality of The Biggest Loser. Like I said, I believe it is about 3 episodes, right? And it's interesting. You have some people in there that's in the middle, like they're like, okay, I've been there, done that. It did change my life. I gained the weight back now. Another person who almost died as a result of what happened to her on the show. And another young lady who is just straight pissed and can't stand one of the trainers on the show. But during this documentary, they blamed a lot of stuff that went wrong on trainer Jillian Michaels. And initially she came out and said she was going to sue because she just don't like the way that they betrayed her, and said it was all lies. And she knew that it wasn't going to be a positive documentary. That's why she herself declined to even go and be part of the documentary. So I'm going to share a screen now, and we'll talk about how what she pretty much said about the lies, and she got her receipts, like they like to say. So Julian Michaels speaks out to blast Biggest Loser documentary. Show screwed me for years. So they're trying to say a lot of stuff that happened, they blamed on her. Let's take a listen.
With the
Okay,
Netflix documentary.
of course. Well, honestly, it's just filled with so many lies. And of course, I have the emails and the text messages to back all of this up. And, right now, my team and I are trying to figure out the best way of going forward in dealing with this. Do we pursue this legally? Do I just do a data dump and give you all of the emails and all the receipts? But for the show's doctor to suggest that I never worked with him, for example, that's one of his lies. There are, Harvey, I mean, I don't know, hundreds of emails going back and forth between me and the show's doctor. However, I did have very serious issues with the way the show's doctor handled the contestants. And I requested, and I have all of this in email, that the contestants see specialists and other doctors. Sometimes they allowed that to happen. Sometimes they didn't. There was an endocrinologist in particular that I had asked them to refer my contestants to, named Dr. Katja Van Hurley. Of course, Dr. Huizenga was very angry about this, and she would often overturn many of his decisions. So, for example, a contestant showed up and was on metformin. Dr. Huizenga would randomly, and I again can prove all of this in emails to you, randomly pull contestants off of medications, which is, by the way, what he did to Tracy, who's in the documentary. I believe he pulled her off of, I think she was on Prozac, and he pulled her off of her Prozac. And of course, when you pull someone cold turkey off of antidepressants, they're going to have a really severe, significant reaction. And I mean, this is just common sense. You don't have to be a doctor to know not to do that. So I then said, you can't be pulling contestants just cold turkey off of metformin. And our contestant who had PCOS and was on the metformin for that started to have all kinds of negative reactions medically. I requested that she go see Dr. Van Hurley. And then Dr. Van Hurley put her back on the metformin. So this is just one of the things that I have had issues with the show's doctor over. And I'll give you other examples. He
Well,
allowed them to
Jillian,
take,
let me
yeah,
ask you, because one of the big deals they make in the documentary is the caffeine pill.
caffeine. Yep. Okay. So the caffeine was approved on numerous, first of all, at no point was caffeine banned from the show. And actually, if you watch that episode, Allison Sweeney, I'm almost sure, I know for a fact I say it, that they're allowed to have caffeine, but I'm not allowed to give it to them. I'm almost sure that's what's in the show. I haven't watched it in years. But there's no point where caffeine has been banned from the show. Now, throughout numerous seasons, the doctor would allow them to have it, not allow them to have it, allow them to have it, not allow them to have it. Never once, just to clarify, because they try to make it look like I gave Rachel Fredrickson caffeine pills. I never even trained Rachel Fredrickson one time. She was not my contestant. I never gave her caffeine pills because not only did they, I mean, it was a whole thing, we weren't allowed to do it at that point, but she wasn't my contestant. Throughout the show, they were always allowed to have them. And then randomly, they wouldn't be allowed to have them again. So they try to make it look like I just went off piste all by myself. And the contestants were not allowed to have caffeine, which was a total lie. And Bob Harper's like, I had no idea that they were on caffeine. Bob, those stackers, those came from Bob. I was using my fat burner that we had created and it was in stores at the time because it was all organic. And I have all the emails for that. It was like green tea and Gouda Cola and all this stuff. Nevertheless, the point I'm trying to make is that this was always intermittently allowed throughout the show. Caffeine was never removed from the show. And then I have an entire email chain with the show's producer and the show's nutritionist asking why Dr. Huizenga had just taken this away because they were drinking unlimited amounts of coffee.
So let
And
me
it was
ask you this though: why then were you penalized on the show for giving caffeine?
because I personally gave it to them. And in my contract, it says you're not allowed. And so this is a longer story. So this starts as follows. And I strongly recommend that you guys maybe talk to Maria Menounos about this. Okay. Many years ago, during this exact period, I'm at home with my kids and I get a phone call from Maria Menounos. And she's like, Jillian, I need to talk to you immediately. Call me back. So I call her back. I'm like, dude, what's going on? She's like, we just got a call from inside the network that you had given, follow me all the way through here, the contestants an illegal substance and somebody went to the hospital. She's like, I need to know because they're going to run the story. Did you do this? And I was like, Maria, I never did anything like this. This never happened. She's like, okay, let me just get confirmation from them that nobody went to the hospital. I'm talking to Lisa G, and Lisa G was the show's executive producer. She's like, we're going to hold this story for now. Sit tight, I'll get back to you. She goes to Brandon Reig and Paul Telegdi at NBC. She tries to get a comment through NBC, and they won't answer her. And she just gets an answer back from the show's publicist saying no comment. So they won't tell her if it happened or it didn't happen. Now, Brandon Reig, by the way, who is the show's executive, but is the same guy who made this documentary at Netflix. Same guy. So now, I, of course, contact Marty Singer. My team calls a lawyer. This whole thing begins. And Maria's like, Jill, I'm going to try one more thing. She goes, I have Paul Telegdi's cell phone. So this is the president, the chairman of NBC. She's like, I'm going to try to go around NBC channels and get him on the phone. She calls Paul Telegdi. This is all going down at like 10 o'clock at night on a Tuesday or something. She'll remember probably better than me. She calls Paul Telegdi, gets him on the phone, and she goes, Paul, we're about to run this story about Jillian Michaels. I need an answer. And your PR team at NBC is saying no comment. Did anybody from Biggest Loser go to the hospital tonight? No. Did Jillian Michaels give the contestants anything illegal tonight? No. So now, like, that story has to go away. And they're stuck with what do we do because they want to bring back Ruben Studdard because this is when Ruben Studdard had been eliminated. So they're like, well, and we go back and forth with Marty Singer. All of this is all documented in emails, which is why I have the one I just sent Devin, by the way, to prove that this had been allowed historically throughout the show's history. And the way they ended up doing it, I believe if you watch the show, is they said, well, they're allowed to have caffeine, but according to Jillian's contract, she's not allowed to give them anything. And that is true. In fact, there's a reason I still have my dog named Seven. I had rescued a bunch of dogs and was supposed to give one to Tara from season 7. And Tara named the dog Seven. And then I got a call from the network and the producer saying I wasn't allowed to give the contestants anything. She's now my dog for 18 years. Nevertheless, that is absolutely the truth, that I was not allowed to do it. And I was at war with the show's doctor over a million different things. I went to Lisa Hennessy, who was the showrunner at the time. And again, I have all this in an email. And the show's nutritionist, Cheryl Forborg, registered dietitian, and the producer, I was like, can we please bring eBoost? This is when we started using eBoost instead. That's what this was over, actually. Back, not the stackers. I'm like, the whole caffeine thing with Jillian did this, and I had to go home, was over eBoost, not the stackers. And I was like, can we please bring this back in the house? Have all these emails, we'll send them to you. The nutritionist is like, this sounds amazing. I want some. Then Dr. Huizenga says, no exogenous stimulants. Then I respond back. I'm like, we've been allowed to give them this for seasons. Why are we not allowed to give them this now? They're taking unlimited amounts of coffee. And then Lisa Hennessy says to me, she goes, Jill, don't worry about it. Just do it. It's fine. I have literally, like, not that part in email, which is exceptionally unfortunate. But
you're saying you did it because the executive producer of the show gave you the green light.
She's like, go ahead. It's fine. Because we've been fighting about it and fighting about it and fighting about it and fighting about it. And I have it in emails.
So let me ask you finally about Bob
Mhm.
Harper. What caused the bad blood between the two of you?
Harvey, I don't know. It's been like this always. That's all I can tell you, is it's always been like this. And if you look historically at, let's say, an Andy Cohen appearance with him on it, he'll be saying negative things about me. If you look at the show's reboot, he'll be saying negative things about me. If you look at this documentary, he'll be saying negative things about me. And in fact, the second to last time I ever messaged Bob, which is the text that I posted, I had I tried to reach him numerous times about, like, the situation with Rachel Fredrickson, because I was really upset about that, which is, I have all these emails, and I wanted to, walk away from the show over it. I wanted to make a statement, and I was told by Brandon Reig, who again is the guy that made this documentary, and Paul Telegdi, who is the chairman of the network, that if I did, they were going to contact my lawyer. And I can send that to your team right now, that they expected loyalty. They wanted me to say I celebrated the success of all the contestants. And if I didn't, they were going to contact my lawyer and I was going to have a problem with the network. Obviously, I left the show after that.
Yeah.
I had tried to reach Bob like numerous times about different things, about, listen, how do you want to handle this? Like, what do you want to do? And he's like, I'm so upset about this, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, just never, like, doesn't respond to my messages. And if you see in the text message, I'm like, Bob, this is why our friendship is always so hurtful to me, because I can message you and you just don't respond. And I can't, like, there are so many details, and it was a very long and complex relationship. I can't even really honestly tell you why. All I can do is show you, like, look at the documentary. And that is what I lived with Bob the entire time.
So I do have one final question. Why didn't you
Yeah.
participate in the Netflix documentary? There are people who were saying, had Jillian gone on, maybe she would have been cast differently on the show.
Well, so there are numerous reasons. Number one, Harvey, this is 11 years ago. Like, I want to move on. I don't want to be painted with this brush anymore, which is pretty much exactly what happened. Like, I don't want, it's taken me 11 years to get away from The Biggest Loser and be, like, hosting the news for Leland Vitter on News Nation. Like, that is where my head is at right now. I'm not interested in relitigating this. Number two, the man who greenlit and purchased this documentary is Brandon Reig. And Brandon Reig is the one who worked with NBC to essentially take me down over this whole caffeine thing. And I knew that it was going to be a hit piece. And I was like, I'm not participating in this. This is not going to be good. My lawyer then turned around and said, hey, just make sure anything you guys do or say about Jillian, you run through us for fact checking. Not one fact check came through. Not one.
So our recon is that you're meeting with attorney Brian Friedman today. Sounds
Yes.
like you're gunning for a lawsuit here.
These things are obviously very costly. This has wasted hours. Like my son has a surgery today. It's minor. He's getting his adenoids out and his turbinoids out. But like I'm dealing with this at 6 a.m. Like this stuff takes hours of time that I really honestly don't have. It costs tons of money that I really don't want to spend. But at this point, it's so egregious and it's so damaging that I don't think I have a choice. So I'm going to be speaking with Brian today at 3 o'clock to decide if just dumping all of these emails that prove everything I'm saying is the best idea or pursuing it legally is the best idea.
Okay, Jillian. Really appreciate you doing this, and
No, I appreciate you giving me the chance to give you the emails. I have all of them.
we want to see them. We want to see everything.
I will send you everything. And to make another thing, I want to say one more thing. As this doctor sits on this documentary and claims that he had issues with caffeine, this is a doctor that gave them Ambien like candy, have it in email, and allowed them to have dip. So
Dip?
like this whole
dip?
it's insane to just put it lightly.
Smokeless tobacco. I got it.
Yep. Yeah. But wouldn't let them have magnesium calm. We wanted to give them calm to sleep. So it was approved. And then he decided within the same episode, the same season, it wasn't approved. And the reason we were giving it to them was so that we didn't have to give them Ambien to sleep. And he wanted to give them Ambien instead because he claimed that over-the-counter calm, if they took excessive amounts, like basically drank a bottle, it would have a laxative effect. Not that any contestant ever used it for that. And they were supervised, and it was given out by his. Oh, and sorry, the caffeine pills were distributed by his staff every other season. It's like insane, the lies. I can't. It's crazy. And that's what the email. That's who Sandy Crum is in that email chain. That's his staff. They were always on set 24/7.
Okay, Jillian, send us as many of those emails as you can.
You got it.
And we really appreciate the time. Thanks.
No, thank you, Harvey.
Oh, this is ugly. Ambien they was giving them to sleep. I wonder why they was having trouble sleeping, but then I guess not, right? Because a lot of these contestants claimed they was on an 800 calorie a day diet, and they said they was exercising about 8 hours a day. I don't even know how they was able to do it. And of course, afterwards, unfortunately, could they sustain that? I mean, unless you just don't work in life and you could work out 8 hours every day, I don't know how do you sustain that. That's why unfortunately a lot of them gained the weight back and then some. There was people in the documentary. There was one lady in the documentary, I think it was Rachel, who pretty much said that she wasn't all negative, she wasn't all positive. It's not like she said she hated the show. Even the guy who gained all the way back, and it looked like to me and then some, it wasn't all negative from him. But then there's a young lady on the document that she was pissed about her time on the show and what happened. So Jillian Michaels says Netflix Biggest Losers documentary isn't just full of lies, it's part of a long history of the franchise trying to take her down, and she's giving TMZ all the receipts to prove it. And listen, in these situations, you have your receipts, honey. Have your receipts. TMZ caught up with Jillian hot off her IG blast and lawsuit threat Tuesday, and she doubled down, telling us the documentary paints a false picture, starting with Dr. Robert claiming he never worked with her, something she says is BS because she got hundreds of emails proving otherwise. We listened to the full interview. Jillian blasts the way the documentary twisted her role on the show, accusing Dr. H of dangerously yanking contestants off their meds cold turkey, while she was the one stepping in to protect them. As for the caffeine bombshell, Jillian insists it was never banned. She says the show flip-flopped about it constantly and flat out denies ever training season 14 contestant Rachel Fredrickson, despite the documentary suggesting she secretly slipped her pills. Oh, God. They're lucky nobody physically died. This thing could have been worse than what it was. But the wildest part, Jillian tells us back in the day, she got a call from Maria Menounos, who told her NBC sources claim she gave contestants an illegal substance that sent someone to the hospital. Jillian says she never gave any illegal substances to anyone. Maria investigated, and a top NBC exec confirmed it was false. Still, Julian claims then NBC exec Brandon Rigg, the same guy who produces Netflix doc, was involved in the mess, and she believes this is proof of the powers that be have had it out for her all along. Julian makes it clear to us again, she and her team are still deciding whether to unload all their receipts or let the powerhouse attorney Brian Friedman take Netflix, Bob Harper, and Dr. Robert and the doc producers to court. There's plenty more from her long-lasting bad blood with fellow trainer Harper to why she skipped the doc altogether. To her claim, Netflix ignored her lawyer's fact-check request. Julian says she didn't want to spend the time and money, but the documentary is so damning, she may have no choice. Listen, I wish her all the best. I actually did like this show, but I think, in hindsight, and now when you see where reality TV has kind of evolved to, I think all of these shows behind the scenes have some level of toxic to them. And I think the level of toxicity, it depends on the show and the showrunners on how much, drama they want. But they definitely are. You're going to be, if you're the talent, going to be a sacrificial lamb. So you got to be careful what you sign up for. But when you take a vulnerable group, people that really need to lose weight, a lot of these people, they were severely overweight. And weight is a sensitive thing. The diet industry is $1 billion industry in America. So of course, if you have a show offering somebody like, you come here, by the time we're done with you, you're going to be snatched, you're going to lose weight. Who wouldn't take it up if they could and they had the time? But listen, guys, chat with me in the comments, and when I get an opportunity, I will chat back. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that every time I upload a video, you will be notified. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. Let me know your thoughts. Did you ever watch The Biggest Loser? Was you a Biggest Losers fan? Do you know the history? Like I said, I think I watched it from beginning all the way to when they, no longer was showing the show. And a lot of these things they talked about in the documentary, I saw firsthand. It's interesting. I feel for the contestants. And, when you sign up for these reality shows, like I said, you put your name and your reputation on the line because they're always going to use somebody. It's always going to be the villain. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit the like button. Chat with me. I'll chat back, and I'll see you on the next video.